So when I was in high school, yeah, like I mentioned, I thought I wanted to be a pilot. So I did take a co-op program as part of my high school. And I just asked if I could be placed at an airline. Even before starting at Porter Airlines, like I honestly hadn't even heard of them. And then after my co-op teacher got it organized for me and I started, I worked for the first 8 months or so as part of the co-op, and then after that finished, they hired me um, part-time. So after grade 11, I started part-time in customer service, and I worked through the summer, and then I was able to keep that part-time job while I finished grade 12 as well. And so that really helped open the doors for me, and well, I'm still working there, so it really kind of helped like shape my entire career just from starting from high school.
What draws you currently to stay at Porter? Like, what about being a duty officer specifically, or just in general working at Porter appeals to you so much?
That's a good question. I would say it's a mix of things. Ultimately, I have a really good group of people that I work with, and that makes a big difference. And also the fact that I did start at Porter when even Porter was still a relatively new company. I think they were 6 years old when I started, and now they're 16, so it's been about 10 years now. And so kind of seeing them grow as an organization and being a part of that, it's interesting and it's exciting to be a part of, and that's what I like to stay and ultimately also to help impact that growth and the changes for the company as a whole.
So is there anything specific that you're like looking forward to in like the future for your career? Because you said like Porter just bought like 50 new jets, and is there anything excited like coming up?
Yeah, definitely. It's a huge expansion. So just to kind of put it in perspective, over the last 16 years that they've been operating, they built it up slowly from one plane to 29 planes. And then they operated with 29 for many years. And then last year was when they decided they were going to buy 50 jets. So it's a different fleet than what they currently operate, which kind of changes everything. So now each couple months or so, they're opening up new airports to fly to and new routes, and so yeah, so being a part of that is exciting. I guess each new airport brings different challenges. So I think like my role as we grow, a lot of it is just kind of going to be figuring it out as we go, because we don't really necessarily know the issues that we're going to face until we start. I mean, you can plan and be proactive as much as you can, but ultimately there will be unforeseen issues. And so ultimately, because it is my role to deal with the issues, I think it will change, definitely during the transition period until things have settled. But yeah, I think there will be a lot of changes in the next little bit.
How did the pandemic shift your role or like your job at Porter?
Well, we were all laid off. So they completely shut down operations for a year and a half and laid everyone off. And that's a whole interesting conversation in itself. But Porter was the first airline that I know of anyway in Canada to actually fully shut down operations. And this was very early into the pandemic. It was March of 2020 that they stopped operating. And at the time, nobody really knew what was going to come or how long it was going to last. And so we were expecting to be back to work in a couple months, and then it was a year and a half. So, but during that time that I was laid off, I was able to actually try different careers and different things that I wouldn't have normally done. And so I was grateful for that experience as well. So one of the roles I did was I worked for a different airline, but I worked up in Nunavut, up in the Arctic. and I worked for a company called Canadian North out of Iqaluit, and I worked on the ramp. So I was like loading bags and things like that. And so working from both customer service and operations, I never really worked on the ramp, and I never really thought I would work on the ramp, and I never thought I'd be working in the Arctic as well. But I was able to try that, and even that, like, I think every experience you have can ultimately benefit you in whatever role you take on. So coming back to work now, when they recalled everyone, and I was able to do that and see what a different airline is like and what a different role is like, I still think helps me now. And so I'm still grateful for that time during COVID, even though it was also a lot of uncertainty.
In the end, then, when they recalled you, what drew you back? What would you say drew you back? Like, after you've tried all of these careers, what do you think drew you back specifically to being a duty officer?
I would say, like, what drew me back was just, it was where I wanted to be. Like, I was able to try different things, but it wasn't really something that I would have taken as like a long-term career. But I did want to go back to work at Porter so that I could kind of continue where I had been already working and building kind of my career. So I would say, yeah, that's why I returned.
Obviously, since you went back to Porter, there's something about like the company culture that really like aligns with your value. Do you want to like share more a little bit about that?
I would say, like, I definitely feel in line with Porter's values and their brand as a whole. Ultimately, what their goal is to elevate the economy experience, and so they're able to remain competitive by trying to make travel experience better for everyone. And so on board, for example, there's free beer and wine that's served to everyone, even on like 40-minute flights, or different kinds of meals now on these long flights that we have now to Vancouver, for example. And so, yeah, I would say definitely the goals that Porter has is something that I do like to be a part of. And aviation can in a lot of ways be a race to the bottom, because every company is trying to cut costs and keep travel cheap, because that's ultimately what people want. But you are cutting away at your company. And so I think like what Porter is doing is admirable in a lot of ways too, in trying to bring that elevated economy experience back to air travel.